Nina or Carmen, would you like to start first, because we haven't seen you for a few days? Carmen, any reflections after your trip from Bangkok from the discussions?
Many reflections, many reflections, and I'm still processing, so I cannot say like, wow, this is, but it's, I don't know, it was really, really helpful, and I'm really grateful. Yeah, and I'm still processing. It's, I don't know, I'm doing it for 2 years now, and I'm still in the process, and I cannot hurry it up. It's what it is, yeah. And yeah.
We had some discussion about one or many paths. What do you think now? One or many paths?
One or many paths. It is only one path, as the Buddha has said. It is only one path. Yeah, but the question is how to, how do you say that? How to, yeah, it is interpretation of the words. And yeah.
I suppose, Carmen, you're saying there's one path, but there's different ways of traveling along the path. Would that be correct?
Yeah. And there, yeah.
And how would you characterize the path generally then that's common to all ways? Is it a path of understanding?
The path is about understanding the truth.
Yeah. I think that's the important thing to keep in mind. It's a path of understanding the truth about the present moment reality.
Yeah.
We also discussed this morning about whether it's a COVID situation or the Konliok where we are situation or Bangkok situation, here or there, whether there's any difference at all. What do you think?
I didn't get it totally because of the
Yeah, sorry. So we were discussing this morning because people are alarmed when there's a COVID situation and they think it's a different set of realities, or they think when they're here in Bangkok or in the countryside, it's different from when they're at home in Zoom. But in truth, the realities are the same, but there's just thinking about different dramas, different stories, different fantasies. But in fact, seeing is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking endlessly about different scenarios, different stories.
Different objects.
Sorry, we're all a bit muffled here because we all need to wear masks now. Yes. Let me see if Ajahn would like to say anything to you.
Thank you.
Is this moment the past?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, because it's so very subtle. Who knows that even just a moment of understanding, it seems like so little, but without the little moment, how can there be moments of understanding stage by stage of which is now appearing? Is it firm enough? Now what is there can be known little by little until it can appear as it is, as nimitta, but not nimitta of people and things, nimitta of one characteristic of our reality. For example, now there are many nimittas, and even the nimitta of seeing, there are many moments of seeing, but seeing is not hearing. And there are many moments in between. So in life, who can understand that which is in between seeing and hearing, and then seeing again, and then hearing again. So what can be object of understanding is that which is now appearing, because it appears to know its truth, whether it's true or not, as it's just a moment of seeing. And when seeing's gone away, if we take seeing for I see, where's I gone away, but not like that at all, because it clings to whatever is there, on and on and on and on, no matter what. That's why it's so pleasant or pity to understand that the truth is so true, so subtle. It takes quite a long, long time to have a little understanding of what is there. Even right now, the truth of this moment is whether there's right understanding of it right now, or not yet, or begin, or it's there, not clear, but it knows that what is there can be object of understanding only. That which is not there, it cannot be the object of understanding. Even it's there, for example, sanya now, vitakka now, manasikara now, they are there, but they do not appear. So how can there be the understanding of those nature as no one and nothing? It has to be one reality at a time to be object of understanding. Otherwise, it cannot understand clearly of any object at all. Now, always now, the path is right now. How far is the path leading to understanding the closest reality right now? Nothing as close as seeing right now. It's there. Hearing right now. It's very close. So close now. It's there, not known. So the path is the understanding little by little to understand it with patience and confidence and such a truthfulness to the truth. So it's pleasant, the time to understand what is there, little by little. Firm, confident. Otherwise, the other way cannot be the path leading to understand what is there now as it is. It has risen, it's gone, unknowingly, mixed with other reality, succeeded instantly. That's why right understanding have to understand just one reality by nimitta only. Even nimitta is so very difficult, very hard to experience that as just nimitta of seeing, different from nimitta of hearing. And what are there in between? Many realities, citta and citisika, rupa, arising and falling away. Just to have confidence of the truth of this moment as it is. And that is the way to let go, little by little, ignorance and attachment to whatever is there as something. That's why all these are parami, satya parami, to be truthful to this moment. It's there by conditions. It's gone, and see again, and gone again. Never to arise again in samsara, not only this life. Can panya be tired of the way it is, rolling on so very quickly? So no one can try to do anything like, oh, I'm tired of just that which arises and falls away uselessly. But in truth, it has to be panya of the level that it understands a little bit more, only a little bit more. For example, right now, what It's now appearing, arises and falls away. See, how can it be directly experienced? It is only when right understand little by little and letting go little by little. So no one here and now, all animittas.
Ajahn, you said it's hard to understand nimitta. So please, would you elaborate a little on that?
We don't have to use the word nimitta. Seeing is there. And the Buddha enlightened the truth that as it seems like it's there all the time, but in truth, a moment of seeing arising and then fall away instantly, just one moment. But now there is seeing to be known how many moments arising and falling away. So whatever appears must be nimitta of thing and person, and then as a reality, just like seeing now. It's not the very moment when it arises and falls away, just only one single moment. But now, understanding that at moment of seeing, there are many things appearing, see? Not just the seeing. That's why the truth is that it cannot arise together with seeing what appears. Seeing is one moment of seeing. That's why there are many moments of seeing right now, more than 10 minutes, more than that. And what are the truth of each of moments of seeing? Not only one, that is a single moment of seeing. When there is the understanding of seeing, that seeing is not thinking, it's not hearing. And without the direct awareness, with understanding of the truth, it's impossible to be tired of seeing, but it keeps on conditioned to arise and falls away in life. Because what is seen seems very pleasant, object of attachment. Even the body, in Tipitaka, it says that it's just like the four snakes or venom, see? When there's no eye, no hair, it's only just the square, just nothing at all, only this. But when there is eyes, it's black and blue. So it's object of attachment. So it seems like the four snakes are the ornament all the time, object of liking. People like to have ornaments. That's why there are different shape and form of everything. In truth, what is there? Not as it is. What appears, disappears instantly all the time. And when there is the understanding of just one characteristic of a reality, right understanding begin to understand the difference between seeing and other reality. Otherwise, it seems like they are together, seeing and thinking, see? And without right understanding, it's impossible to distinguish the moment of seeing from that which think. And if they are still together, it cannot be the clear understanding of the truth that seeing is not thinking.
Yeah, that is so difficult because since thinking at once when we see something, and when there is right understanding, it can know the difference.
So there is right understanding and wrong understanding. So consider truthfully what is right and what is wrong. And this is the beginning to understand more and more about the truth of this very moment. Otherwise, just live without understanding of whatever appears at all. Even this so short, but it's so true. Seeing cannot be thinking. So at moment of thinking, it's dark or light.
It
So
must
the
be
word
dark,
will appear
dark.
until it appears. So when there is the understanding of the truth of seeing, it has to be in darkness. Darker than when there are the sense door in between the mind door. Just understand the truth, that's all. And understanding develops little by little to get closer and closer to the absolute truth of this moment, which is so close, opanayiko.
But
Get closer.
seeing and thinking are so short and arise so shortly after one another. That is why it is not easy to distinguish them.
But Panya understand that they are different, right? And
Yeah.
begin to understand that they cannot be at the same moment.
Yeah.
It can be apart little by little. When there is the understanding of the characteristic of one characteristic and the other one and the other one. For example, Phassa is not Vedana, right? But who knows now? They are together and they do not appear as different ones. But Vedana, see, when there is the understanding of what's there, the feeling is there. But when it does not show up, who knows what kind of feeling right now? But when it's painful feeling, bodily painful feeling, who doesn't know that it's a feeling, a kind of feeling, but no understanding of feeling as not self. That's why there has to be the understanding of the truth of that which experiences the object and that which cannot experience the object. Because what we take for I, there must be that which cannot experience the object, the body, and that which experiences the object. No more than that. Nama and Rupa, Chitta and Chittasika, and Rupa, and 5 khandhas, and Ayatana, and Paticcasamuppada. When there are the understandings of moral as no self, no doubt about what is the meaning of Paticcasamuppada. Because usually people just want to know the explanation of what is that and what is that. But in truth, they are there now to be known, not the word, but the truth, which comes from hearing the truth of it by words. For example, avijja, see, the beginning of samsara. Is there avijja now? The beginning of samsara, but by way of paticcasamuppada, Vedana condition what? Excuse me, avijja condition what? By way of paticcasamuppada, many people can recite paticcasamuppada, avijja, condition sankhara. Now it is paticcasamuppada. But Vedana, excuse me, avijja in the past and sankhara in the past condition birth of this past. The link between the past and the future, and the past, the present, and the future. Just to understand the truth that actually there's no one and nothing at all. It's the word of nimitta. Without the absolute truth, there cannot be nimitta. So now, see, just now, right now, what appears are only nimitta. Begin to see the truth. And when it's realized more and more, it conditions right understanding of seeing the danger of just what it's like now, as usual. Seeing gone, hearing gone, thinking gone, everything gone. No one and nothing. Keep on endlessly, non-stop, by conditions. And what are there in life? Some moments are pleasant, some moments are not. That's right, just live to experience such and such feeling and so on. And then die, gone, never remember the past life. So what's the use of this life? Go on until death, to be forgotten when next life comes.
Nina, we had quite an interesting discussion this morning about how any word we read leads to the understanding of the truth now. And one example, thanks to Alberto, was the word vihara and viharati. And when one reads these words, one doesn't think about it as relating to this moment. But actually, we discussed how viharati means carrying on with life anywhere. Like now, there's life carries on, no matter we have a COVID scare or we're in Holland or we're here, life carries on moment to moment. So this is dwelling, and where the Buddha dwells, the vihara, we can say in a deeper sense, it's wherever there is understanding of the Buddha's teachings, because we know that the vihara is where the monks live. But what about the place where there is understanding of the Buddha's teachings? So appreciating and considering each word carefully can lead to more and more understanding of life now. And we also discussed about the Brahma Viharas, the word again, how it is like dwelling in metta, dwelling in karuna, dwelling in the Brahma Viharas, the accumulation of those qualities that leads to rebirth in the Brahma realm. So it was interesting about how one term, which doesn't seem so interesting in the beginning, but how it can lead to more understanding now, or even more reflection about the quality of metta now, because is the dwelling in metta now, or is the dwelling in the Buddha's teachings now? So I found it quite helpful, whatever term, whatever word, nimitta, vihara, any word, it leads to this moment and the understanding now.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly get back to about the past? Ajahn mentioned about how far is the past. I don't know, Carmen, does that answer matter to you? How far is the past? Because you were talking about there is only one past, but there are different ways traveling around the past or so-called practices. And what does the purpose of the practice to kind of get the past shortened?
What can be conditioned for right understanding to realize the truth?
You hear Ajan's question, I think, to you, Vincent?
John was asking, what's the right condition for right understanding? Hearing the truth, reflecting on the truth.
Excuse me, there's no understanding, suppose, right now at all, right? Is there any path to understand the truth?
Is there any what? I'm sorry, Ajahn. Is there?
Any path to understand the truth? PATH, path.
Is there any path to understand? But the moment of understanding, that's the moment we can call that the path, right? A developing the path.
You're talking about the path or the past, PAST?
PATH. Because Ajahn
Path.
asked how far is the path? How far is the path? That's related to Carmen's question initially, right? I don't know. I just wonder if that answer what Carmen think is matters or doesn't matter how far the path.
We are going to understand what is the path or what is meant by the path. From no
Yes.
understanding at all to understand what conditions the understanding, while now there's no understanding.
Well, the path, according to the text, is the Fourth Noble Truth.
So from not understanding anything to understand a little is that the path to have to
Yes.
fully understand. Mhm.
Yes.
So now,
It's
moment of discussing on the truth about seeing and hearing is that the path leading to realize the truth of seeing, when we talk about seeing.
right. But yes, but the question is about, do we care how long it's gonna take?
Yeah, how long? See, from no understanding, and then to understand the truth, realize that arising and falling away at moment when it arises by nimitta.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because some people may not care how long, doesn't matter
So
how long it's gonna take.
What is condition, or what is the path leading to understand the truth of this moment? Because we heard that seeing is conditioned to arise, and as soon as it has arisen, it falls away. It's the truth, and this is the beginning of the path to understand the truth. Not at the moment.
Yes.
So how long? See, how far from no understanding at all and understanding whatever appears as it is. One nimitta of a reality at a time. Otherwise, yeah.
It's okay, even it's forever long.
How long, how far to understand the truth.
Doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
Depending on right understanding. And there are many degrees of understanding, intellectual understanding right now. No doubt about the way seeing arises by conditions and then falls away instantly. Because at moment of hearing, there's no seeing. That is the level of understanding. But it's not the moment of realizing the truth. Just begin to understand that nothing is permanent at all. Not just only long time ago in the past or far away in the future, but just right now. Seeing now is not permanent. By way of process, see, before seeing, there's no seeing. And when there's seeing, just a moment, gone, never to rise again in samsara. Otherwise, it cannot let go the idea of seeing is my seeing.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, it's not there anymore. Is that true?
Yeah, but Ajahn, do we need to know the scene first before we further realize it's anicca?
So what is the truth?
Or Dhamma, anatta,
Not just the word Dhamma.
right?
What?
What is
Reality.
the
What is true? And what is the truth of a reality which now appears? The truth of whatever appears one by one. Does seeing arise and fall away? Does hearing arise and fall away? Does rupa, hardness, arises and falls away? Is it true? Satya parami.
right? Well, yeah. Intellectually, it's true.
Can it be realized?
Yes, at later stage.
Without any understanding or a little more understanding of the truth?
Gradually,
Otherwise, there cannot be the pariyati and then patipati and then pativeda, stage by
Yes.
stage. So who knows how long is the path, how far it is to understand the truth of this moment as it is.
Mhm. And that's maybe why the meaning of Kanti is liking.
Virya and Kanti and Satya and Nekamma, see? Without all these parami, can there be understanding of what is there now as it is, arising and falling away by nimitta? So each word has to be understood clearly, even the word nimitta. No doubt about that word, to have confidence of the truth that's so very rapidly arising and falling away in split seconds. Now it doesn't appear like that, but the truth is that.
Mhm.
And is there a way to realize the truth?
Yes,
Mm-hmm. How far? How long?
doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Only one life?
More,
Possible.
much more. Right.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's so pleasant not to worry about it. Only moment of understanding can lead to the understanding of what is there now as it is. By conditions. And what is the conditions? Again,
Hearing the truth,
parami.
reflecting on the truth. I'm sorry, Ajahn.
Parami, Satya Parami,
yeah,
be
yeah.
truthful to the truth. With Virya and Kanti and Adidana
Mhm.
and Nekamma, all there.
Right.
Be patient.
I don't know if Sundra could help to explain further. I read it somewhere Kanti has the meaning, the root meaning of liking. So contemplation implied on the path, implied liking, endurance.
Right now,
Yes.
there is condition for akusala, right?
Most likely, yes.
Okay, endure not to have it arise. Possible.
Only when
With
right effort.
There must be akusala all the time. But when there is patience to know the danger of it, not to do it, not to stop it, but the danger to understand the truth, that nothing can stop the arising and falling away of whatever is conditioned to arise. Is it not patient, not to do anything, but understanding that no one can make it arise at all, only by conditions, understanding condition for its arising as not me or I or anyone, patient to understand it.
Yes.
It's the right
So
patient.
how can kanti be liking? Because isn't liking a kind of loba? So how can kanti mean liking?
I think it's mentioned in the Visuddhimagga, a footnote. It just briefly mentioned it's liking. I think that's in terms of positive word, liking even it's not pleasant. The endurance implied not pleasant, but it's like the process can be very, very long, but it doesn't matter. It's still like to travel on the path.
I think that when there's patience now, patience, for example, with whatever is experienced, patience to develop the path moment by moment. There's no liking or disliking at those moments of patience because it has to arrive. We're talking about kusala patience. It has to arise with aloba and adosa. So no liking, no disliking at all, because it's the acceptance and endurance with whatever is conditioned right now without any selection or minding what is there, without liking it to be visible object or disliking it to be aversion, just patience with what is conditioned now.
Yes, the word liking is can be quite misleading, but let me check the context. It was just a short description. Haji, you were going to say something?
I think you might have to look it in what aspect we were talking. Like in this is mean kanti barami, toward akusala, patient toward akusala. But then like we have a discussion, akusala virya kanti. Like for example, you can stand in long queue for ice cream and all that. So we have to see in which aspect we were talking about.
Right.
And maybe
I think
Vince, maybe the word slants towards the idea of accepting more than liking.
well, let me check the context and then maybe get back later.
I think that's what you just said then, Sukin, is quite accurate. It depends on what aspect you're going to look at it from, but the verb is kamati, which means to endure, to have patience, to forgive, to be able, to be permitted, to be approved, or to approve or commend itself. But it kind of takes me a little bit to when, in the case of Angulimala, when the Buddha said to him, Adivasehi Brahman. And it's very interesting, that word there, because sometimes translated as endure Brahman. But actually the word means Adivasehi. We're kind of talking, means to, Adhi means higher. Vasehi means, Vasa is the living. So he's really encouraging Angulimala to live the high in the highway, live in the in a higher way, or to reside in the higher way, sort of something similar to what we were talking about with the Brahma Viharas. And so I think we can say that Kamati or Kanti has quite a strong affiliation with that idea of enduring, but enduring, of course, not with stress or akusala. It means to endure with understanding in the higher sense. So I don't know about this aspect that I'm not so sure about the aspect that you might be alluding to, but I think Kun Sukin there pointed to it, you know, and a lot of these words you can look at in different ways, but ultimately they will be referring or can be referring to the present moment, which we sometimes overlook.
I think there is a reference. I think I found the reference that Vincent was referring to. It's in chapter 20 of the Visuddhimagga, which deals with purification by knowledge and vision of what is and is not the path. And there's a passage under the heading of strengthening of comprehension in 40 ways, which says this. Now, when the Blessed One was expounding conformity knowledge, he asked the question, by means of what 40 aspects does he acquire liking that is in conformity? By means of what 40 aspects does he enter into the certainty of rightness? That's a quote from, I think, from Padisambhadamagga. And then there's a footnote from the commentary which says liking that is in conformity is a liking for knowledge that is in conformity with the attainment of the path. Actually, the knowledge itself is the liking, kanti, since it likes, kamati. It endures, defining by going into the individual essence of its subjective field. So that's the reference.
Yes,
Yes,
John,
the
thank you.
verb-
That's
the
what
verb-
I was referred to.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of seems to me a bit of a stretch, that liking, because as Jonathan said, the verb is kamati, which means to endure. And you could stretch that to mean liking, but that seems to be a bit of a
specific reference
Hmm.
in a particular
you-
context.
Yeah, okay. You use that word, the verb kamati there, which, to like, that's, or favor. Let anyone who is in favor of these five favor. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, okay. I can see what Vince says now, and so thanks for finding that, Jonathan. What section there was the Visuddhimagga? I've got that in front of me at the moment. What you said chapter 20, didn't you? Jonathan, sorry, you said chapter 20, didn't you? There.
That's correct.
What number? Do you know? Can you be more specific there?
I'll have a look again and let you know when I've got it up.
Okay.
Jonathan, I think when we saying that like it, kusala, I think Panya understand that truth and appreciate that truth. So I don't know whether this mean liking, or I'm not sure.
Sundra, it's paragraph 18 in chapter 20.
I was about to add comment.
Shall we clarify what is meant by patience? It seems like everyone understands patience, but in truth, what is patience?
Is like tolerating, tolerance,
Why?
patience.
Why?
Why?
Tolerance? Why?
I don't know why. Just is.
Isn't it more referring about akusala, like patient not trying to do anything about apart from understanding, patient not to try, patient not to desire, patient not to have loba. patient to because there is the understanding that it's condition. There are conditions for a kusala, and we and we understand the little we can understand about it, and we just keep on understanding another little bit and then another little bit, but no trying, and that requires patience, not to rush, not to not to want anything without any expectation. Patience, not to and endure endure the akusala. I don't know. Ajahn, can you explain more about patience?
That which is not easy to get, no matter wholesomeness, unwholesomeness. It takes time with viriya, so great to get it. So in order to understand the truth, or to be kusala, just to be kusala, it's not easy at all. That's why we use the word patient, because it takes quite a long time with great, what you say, viriya, to have it. Even it is unwholesome, that you can stay the whole night doing something that you like to finish. Patient too, when there is the difficulties to get it. That's why to understand the truth is so very difficult. It needs patience. Otherwise, it cannot realize the truth, because the truth is that which is there now, not appear yet as it is. Even just to realize the nature of Dhamma, that which experienced whatever is there as object, it's not easy to understand the quality of that which is the chief of experiencing what is there, so clearer than the other mental factor arising with it. Is it not patience? If there's not enough patience, can it be known? Patience to read, patience to understand the word, patience to understand the truth of that word, and patience to realize the truth.
Ajahn, I think we could say the ability to endure.
That is endurance.
It takes
already.
However long it takes for understanding to develop. There is no thought of wanting to hurry it up and make it happen sooner. So I think that's what the liking is meant to convey. One is content to endure, to wait for things to happen by conditions.
One naya, or just one aspect. When we talk about naya, just one word happening naya.
I didn't mention naya.
Even it's not mentioned, it's there, other naya. Because when we read here, it's about this naya, and the other place and context is another naya.
We say that because
Just a minute, Haji, just a minute.
Okay.
Here, Ajahn.
Development, the understanding of the
Development
truth.
of understanding, because in this
Parami.
chapter we're talking about Naya, Vipassana, and Naya, Paramita development. Of
Even just one word in Tipitaka, it talks about many naya.
many Naya.
From the very beginning to different ways of development.
So all referring to development. Depends what there is development of. So here it is development of kanti with understanding. Like even now, we're sitting for a long time, listening, considering, wearing our masks. So there can be kanti with the development of understanding, kanti to endure, that is stronger than the normal virya when it's that which is difficult and takes longer.
Because there is virya now, right? But what kanti? Longer than that, more than that. Takes more time.
And the same when it's a kusala kanti, it takes more effort, more of a struggle, like coming, traveling or going somewhere, it takes more effort, even it's akusala, stronger than virya, more effort, more virya.
Another naya.
Another naya. Why is that another naya?
Because there are so many different aspects of each
naya.
one.
Yes.
I think she
If we
meant
talk just
individual
one
context.
as wholesome, what about when
The
it's
other one.
unwholesome?
Yes.
One might think that there's no kanti.
Yes.
Particular context.
ท่านอาจารย์ I think that Panya see the truth of reality and they endure, appreciate that truth according to the truth that Panya understand, right?
It's liking for knowledge.
Now there is virya to understand, and it also kanti before it can understand.
It's the liking.
So moment of the khanti, virya there, right?
Certainly, because how many citta arise without virya? See, even that naya included. Just one reality, that talk about many stages, many levels.
It is virya, but what about the degree of virya? Like virya can arise even in the sense door process, but it's not kanti. So it has to be the strong endurance, the strong patience for what takes a long time or what is difficult.
I think kusala or akusala patience, it doesn't matter what's behind the motivation is liking. If it's liked by loba for a purpose, so it's endure, akusala patience. But if it's liked by the panya for a noble goal, it's the kusala patience, right? So we can say panya like to achieve the goal.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Vince. I've thought more about it, and Ajahn alluded to it, of course, there. But and I've got that part there that Jonathan referred to, and it makes more sense to me now because, first of all, when I heard that word liking in reference to kamati, it seemed a bit of a stretch. It seemed not quite to fit. But when I've thought about it a little bit more, that seems to be quite appropriate, because as you've just said, there is an appreciation of the path or a liking for the path, if you want to put it that way. And with that appreciation with the understanding comes the appreciation of the path and an understanding of the value of patience, or therefore a liking for patience, because one knows that that's in conformity with the path. So I think that's quite appropriate in that sense.
Actually, like it in that aspect mean Panya understand, appreciate that truth. Not
that's true. Yeah, that's right, Haji.
And when there is a kanti with a there of self, there's the trying to with virya, akusala virya, is that naya as well? Is that development of?
Well, I need to flesh. I wouldn't mind fleshing that. Thanks for bringing that up again, Alberto. I wouldn't mind talking to having Ajahn talk about that, because as we know, when we pay tribute to the Sangha, we say Nyaya Patipanno. So Nyaya usually is translated as a method or a manner or a means or, right conduct or, that kind of territory. So I'm not quite sure what you're speaking to there, Tanajan Cup, when you say there are many different Nayas. You're saying there are many different. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
And just before Ajahn answers or comes in, isn't that Nyaya? Paripano is not the word Naya, Naya, that is.
I was presuming it's Nyaya, but Ajahn might have been saying that too. So I'm not quite sure. That's why I presume that she was saying.
Naya is the word Ajahn has been mentioning. Naya.
Oh, I see. Okay, not Nyaya. All right, I misheard that.
Naya, no.
Naya,
Okay.
N-A-Y-A. And I think, Alberto, you were just asking Ajahn, would you like to repeat your question? Because Ajahn?
Yeah, the question is about Kanti and the self, because we know the self can have patience, but that's not what we're talking about. Naya, we refer to development of understanding, and it can be akusala kanti, it can be akusala viriya, and I don't think that it's a Naya, but I don't know.
How many words for Lopa?
Probably hundreds, Ajahn.
Can we say by different Naya?
Right.
Yes, we can say that.
Yeah, there wouldn't be the development of yeah, it's a subtle point, because as we know, yeah, and also the word Naya, yeah, I know it's not clear, Ajahn.
And talking about samatha by Naya of Vipassana. Right?
That's not clear. I'm not quite clear, Ajahn, because as I understand the word Naya usually means Naya, not Nyaya. Naya usually means leading or guidance or something like that, or it can have other meanings also. So I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, or can you tell us more about how you understand that word Naya?
Yeah, because you see that we can talk about calmness by Naya or Samatha development, or by Naya of Vipassana development. Are they different? Otherwise, how can there be two Naya? By Naya of Samatha and by Naya of Vipassana.
Okay, now it's coming.
Naya of, no, not Vipassana or the Samatha.
Yes, so you're saying there are different ways, different manners.
In that context of Naya and Naya Vipassana and the development of Vipassana as compared to development of Samatha or Samatha by way of Naya, what would be the difference between talking about Naya and Vipassana Bhavana at that point?
For the person who has no understanding of Vipassana at all, and they can understand the moment of kusala, that it shouldn't be more. So they try by way of samatha bhavana, not to have ignorance and attachment and akusala, no understanding of Vipassana. But for the person who developed the path Vipassana, there are two kinds. One has developed samatha before, and the other haven't developed samatha before at all.
You're referring it by Naya of Samatha or by Naya of Vipassana, yes. By the means of, or by the way of, by the development of.
Even the word to use the samma as prefix, it depends on whether by way of Vipassana together or not.
So here it's like by way of,
Right, right now, see, like now,
like
not
when
by
we,
way of samatha.
yes.
When we talk about samma ditti,
Earlier this morning when we were talking about the development of vipassana, and I was mentioning to Hajit, it's always by way of vipassana with calmness. So it's always, the vipassana is always by way of the naya of vipassana with calmness developed. But when we're referring to the development of samatha bhavana, which may precede vipassana, then we're talking about the vipassana by way of the development of samatha bhavana, but still at each moment of vipassana, it has to be calm, the higher calm. So I think this is what is referred to, as John explained, by naya, by way of.
samatha too, together, and by way
Can-
of no
cannot-
samatha development
Right.
before.
Cannot be development without vipassana with samatha together. But there can be the development of samatha before, without vipassana.
The first Lokuttara Dhamma must be what you call Sotapatimaka, by way of Chitta, how many number, and by way of more than that, 40 kind of enlightenment.
Whether the attainment of jhana is a support or a base or the object prior to that attainment of enlightenment. So whether it's by way of the development of samatha bhavana or just development of vipassana with samatha. Any questions in here in our back room? Yes, Tim, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question about Javana Citta, how it has its own series of continuation of kusala and akusala. Oh, sorry. So how the Javana Citta like runs through the object and like has 7 moments of akusala or kusala. My question would be how maybe you guys could help me understand like how it like for each person has different accumulation, and those like series that it runs through, how is it different for everyone depending on how they accumulate? I'm not sure if I understand it right, but maybe you could help me understand.
The question is, I think, how the 7 moments of Javana Citta vary from one individual to the next according to accumulations. Is that right?
Yes. And is it the Javana that does the function of accumulating?
What's the last bit?
The last bit is it the Javana Citta that does the function of accumulating kusala or akusala?
What about now, moments like we discussed this morning with dream of kusala and akusala sila, even though we're in the discussion, moments of understanding, followed by moments of clinging, moments of attachment, moments of understanding. So even for what we call one individual, can the set of kusala or akusala chittas ever be the same from moment to moment?
No, it
For example,
changes.
is the chitta now, for example, the chitta of Lobha now, is it the same as the moment ago?
No, it's
So
not the same.
even without thinking of individuals, we can see that the chittas arise and fall away so fast. And it's different from moment to moment. As we discussed, the metta just arises for a moment, or 7 very quick moments, the generosity just for a few moments, the attachment just for a few moments. So even now, what is the accumulation as we speak?
The
So-
accumulate- Sorry.
Because even at this moment, it's not known. So moments of clinging now, that is the accumulation now. Moments of kindness, that is the accumulation. But it's not known because they rise and fall away so fast, like we discussed. Who knows whether there is metta or clinging at this moment? We think about the story or think about pinpointing metta or clinging, but actually it's not known. So the accumulation that appears now is changing from moment to moment. And it's like that for everyone. We call it this person or that person's accumulations, but actually they're just different moments of arising of Lobha, different moments of arising of kindness, different moments of understanding, all gone, never to return again. So the accumulation changes at each moment, but the Lobha now conditions more Lobha in future. The patience now conditions more patience. So what arises now leads to a little more accumulation, like dropping specks of salt in the ocean, a little more, but never the same from moment to moment. Does that make sense?
Yes. Can I ask what was that? Would you like to say?
Oh,
Is it always when it runs in the series of 7? Is it always like one set of kusala, or does it change in every
Each one has to
each-
be the same.
each-
So the Lobha, the first Lobha conditions the next Lobha, and the following Lobha, and the following Lobha. So exactly the same kind of chitta with the same Lobha at that moment. So if it's kusala, it cannot change to akusala in that process by conditions.
Mhm.
And when we talk about Javana jittas, we're actually referring to the function of the kusala or agusala jittas, because they are either kusala or agusala, as Sarah has just said, and their function is to run through the object. And these jittas can occur, of course, in any number of combinations of different jetasikas, depending on the roots, wholesome or unwholesome, and then if it's wholesome, whether it's with panya or without panya, or if it's unwholesome, or it's dosa rooted or lobha rooted, as well as, or just moha. And even then within those, if we take, for example, dosa jetasika, which is a root, as we know, dosa covers a wide range of conventional feelings or expressions, from slight annoyance to strong hate. It's all the one jetasika. So this will vary according to the accumulated tendencies of the individual, and according to, of course, the interest in the object. Because if it's, say, a visible object or a sound, the accumulated tendencies of that individual may be more predisposed to have an interest in one as opposed to the other. So many factors, we cannot even attempt to figure out how it all happens, because that information is just not necessary for us to actually know. The important thing is, as Sarah said, that now there are Javana Jittas arising and running through the object, and they will be kusala or akusala, and they are unknown. Not that everything has to be known, but there is the opportunity for that understanding to develop over time.
And good. I was also, when I heard your question, there is a condition known as Pakatu Upanisya Pachya, or actually I've said it wrongly, Pakatu Upanisya Pachya, which we're all very, very, very different. Each person, we've got different, you mentioned the word accumulations, which you obviously are familiar with, how we accumulate different levels of attachment, different levels of saddha. We've all got different levels of, different likings towards food, towards different temperatures, towards where we live, etc., etc. And we accumulate these tendencies, of course. So this is going to influence, we can say, our different likings and different aversions and different tendencies that we have, these different accumulations. And that's going to affect the types of chittas that arise. And mostly, as you can imagine, they're going to be a kusala, but with more and more understanding, there can be more conditions for kusala.
So it all happens by conditions, and so many conditions that those conditions cannot be known directly.
So it's not necessary of trying to be aware of those at the moment because it's already too late. Is that right? Like it's already ran through and it's no point. Right.
Chitta is it? What kind of accumulation is it at that moment?
Probably lobha and
Loba, the trying.
yeah.
Yes. The wishing to be aware.
Yes.
So it's the opposite of understanding with patience.
No
Because
patience at those
No
moments.
patience at all. Just anxious or trying to be aware. So what is the difference between moments of seeing and hearing and moments of kusala or akusala, which we just discussed?
It's different moments.
And what is the difference? Can we talk about seeing or hearing as the accumulation now?
No,
Why not?
because it's only. Oh, I mean, it's vipaka.
It's vipaka.
Accumulated, right?
It's a result of karma.
Right.
So the seeing now doesn't condition more seeing. It's just the result of karma. And then it's followed by the lobha, which accumulates on and on. And if it's strong enough, conditions the karma that can bring results in the ways we've discussed before.
Right.
So the real problems in life, are they the moments of vipaka, such as the painful bodily experience or the seeing of an unpleasant object or the smelling an unpleasant odor? Are those the real problems, or are the real problems the akusala chittas that follow?
I think it's the akusala chitta that follows.
Right. So we set a lot of importance. We think a lot about the painful bodily feeling, or we try very hard to see or hear or smell desirable objects. But actually, these moments of vipaka are just the result and fall away. So the real problems in life are the akusala accumulations that follow.
Thank you.
Leading to more karma in future.
And no matter it's kusala or akusala, right? It just If there's no understanding, there's no point of.
The main
Right.
point to understand is no matter now, whether it's metta or loba, it's just Dhamma. It
Dhamma.
doesn't belong to me. It's not my accumulation. It's not my metta. It's just a reality that arises and falls away. And some realities are wholesome and some lead to the path, the understanding and its supportive factors, and some are akusala. So the Buddha taught and described all kinds of realities for the purpose of understanding no one there, no one that has metta, no one that has understanding, no one that does good deeds, just different realities arising and falling away, kusala, sila, akusala, sila, different moments.
Thank you.
Back to the point of the Khantis and Vidya, are they the same Citasika? And because in the Parames, 10 Parames seem have the Khanti Parame and Virya Parame, right? They have a two, and they are developing for the same Citasika, right? It is correct.
Both Viriya Parami, but Kanti, as we discussed, refers to when it's the strong patience to endure, to understand, to develop the path on and on with the paramis. Viriya can have other aspects like courage or energy or fortitude. So different aspects. Perhaps John would like to add more.
There is Kriya now.
I think yes.
I say, I think.
Because it's not appears for yet for understand. So
Because there must be Viriya with how many Chittas. So we know that when it's not those Chitta, there must be Viriya. Right now, Viriya. And when it keep on and on and on and on, it is Khanti. Until it's finished. Reaching the goal, enlightenment.
And they accumulate in its way, right? Like Viryas and Khanti. So, because say Khanti's parame is very high level, or the strong degrees of the Viryas, can we say something like that?
As long as there is intention to understand this moment right now, keep on sitting, talking, considering, that is Khanti.
Yeah, appreciate on this example. Yeah.
How many minutes we have said? Khanti, right? Now.
When there is intending to be aware of the kusala or akusala, is there viriya? Is there effort at that moment? And is it kusala or akusala viriya? When when intending to be aware, or trying to be aware. Akusala virya, yes. So virya arises with almost every chitta in life, moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. No virya at other chittas. With other chittas which don't have wholesome or unwholesome roots, mostly no virya, but at any moment of kusala or akusala, virya is there, so it can be wholesome or unwholesome. Like moment of wise considering, kusala virya, but moment of trying to consider wisely, akusala virya. So it slips in all the time. People talk about virya and making an effort and developing the path with strong effort. But when it's for me or trying or wishing or intending to be aware, then it's all akusala virya. Like when you're following a meditation practice, focusing on a particular object, trying to be aware without any understanding. Akusala virya, those moments of attachment. So this is what we're talking about. And when it's very strong virya, no matter kusala or akusala, there is another word, kanti, the patience. So when it's stronger virya, stronger effort together with understanding, for example, there is kanti at those moments. When there is strong trying to be aware or strong focusing on the object in a practice, then it's strong, it's akusala kanti at those moments, strong virya.
Going to meditation center is the kanti.
Yes, but it's the unwholesome kanti.
Which is more kanti.
The unwholesome one. The good understanding one. Better kanti.
What is easy to arise and what is so very difficult to arise?
Lopa is easy to arise.
Does it need any kanti to be lopa?
No.
Mm-hmm. So to go to meditation center is so easy to be wrong.
I think like Jagrit discussed the other day, when there's focusing on an object like the painful feeling with a lot of effort and energy and effort, not easy, even though it's all akusala. Would you agree, Jagrit? It's
And you guys were talking about Naya. I've never heard that word before. Can you explain?
Well, it came into the discussion a couple of days ago in a particular context of the higher stages of Vipassana. So it's not really related to it's not really related to our present position, but it's a technical term in a particular context, and the context is Naya Vipassana, and the translation used is inductive insight. Inductive means inferred, or inferred insight. So it talks about the understanding of one reality leading to an inference in relation to other realities in the same group. That's in general what it is.
Ajahn has explained that it can have different meanings in different contexts. And in this context, because it wasn't very clear what was meant by inductive or inferential vipassana, it didn't really make sense. And her understanding is it means by way of. So vipassana by way of what has been described.
By way of samatha, and khanti by way of vipassana. Naya.
Like the development of the path can be by way of samatha bhavana first before the development of vipassana, and as condition as for vipassana bhavana, or by way of vipassana bhavana with calmness. So naya, by way of. So different ways of leading to the goal, but actually the only one way really is the development of understanding. And if there is the understanding of realities, no thought about wishing to develop more metta or focus on a particular object or develop samatha bhavana, because there is the confidence that the understanding has to be now of whatever appears at this moment.
Or sati by naya or by way of intellectual understanding, pariyati or naya of the patipati and naya of pativeda.
By way of patipati or sati by way of pativeda, different degrees of sati that.
And sati now.
Gang, you were confused by the discussion about doors, sense door and mind door, and Ajahn was mentioning about how now the sense door covers up the mind door, and you're confused by what was meant in this context by sense door and by mind door, because some people think she's talking about here the eye sense as sense door or the bhavanga citta as a mind door, but actually it's like a shorthand referring to the chittas experiencing the object in the sense door or in the mind door. But maybe you can ask your question a bit more.
Yes, I think originally it's come from the reality appearing first, right? So then Ajahn just mentioned about the mind or not appearing, so I confused that point. And also yesterday we say seeing not appear now, only visible object appear. That's also make me still confused. Please have to elaborate a little bit more.
What about hearing? We use the word I hear, but you hear word or you hear sound.
Hear word.
What do we?
Mind door.
And the sound?
Ear door.
So what?
So what is the mind doors and the mind door?
And can when the mind experience the sound as soon as the sense door has fallen away, before there can be hearing the word like we think. In truth, the word cannot be heard, only the sound can be the object of hearing through sensory. And when it's mind off, it's not only the sound, but also the meaning of the sound too. Right now.
Yes, right now only the word. So it hidden by the ear door.
Sound is heard by the ear door.
Yes.
And
my door thinking about the sound that heard.
experience the same object of sense sound
Yes,
before
right.
it can understand the nimitta of that sound, the meaning of the nimitta of that sound. Does sound have nimitta as well?
Right.
Really, how can you differentiate?
That sorry, can Ajahn because just mentioned the mind or experiencing the nimitta of the sound just heard over the ear door. With that, over the mind or many moments can understand the word that just heard over many nimitta of the sound heard over the ear door. So in reality now, in truthful now, just hearing the word, not hearing the sound, and it seems the hearing.
Is it possible to hear the word?
No, think the word, hear the sound, right? Yeah. But back to the appearance of the mind door, I'm still not.
Can the mind door hear the sound?
Cannot.
But it can experience the sound.
So we say mind door, that means the chitta in the mind door process experiencing. Okay. Then it makes sense. It's not appearing. Okay, yeah. And one more point, that seeings or hearings not appear now, I still confused. Because many times in Vietnamese discussion, we say seeing now is appear. Hearings appear. It's now just seen. Very, very quite believe that it's appear now. But recently just realized that seeing actually not appear. It's the visible object appear. So please.
Another naya.
So people think it's obvious, oh, visible objects appear, and they think, no, it's obvious that there are sense door cheaters and mind door cheaters, but do any of them appear? Does even the visible object appear to understanding? Yes, everyone knows it's experienced, but is it understood at this moment? Is seeing understood in the mind door?
So in the context of the mind door process after the sense door, the mind door not appear, right? For that point, I think I quite a little bit clear. But for the other things, like thinking about the story, or not at this at all, or even at the moment of the anger, can we say mind door appear?
Is there mind door?
I think so. Don't be.
Or are there only 5 senses?
Or let me give another example, like in the dream, right? No sense law at all. And in the dream may have the anger or the liking in the dream. So what appear in the dream in such context?
Think about your friend in Vietnam.
Yes, I'm thinking now.
Do you see?
Not seeing.
How do you know that your friend is there in
I
Vietnam?
see very long time ago, not recently seeing.
You
Right?
remember the shape and form of that particular person?
No.
Otherwise, how can you think about him?
Very blur.
Do you have a shirt?
Shirt. Yes.
What color?
White and blue. White. Okay. Mm. Okay, so the point is everything thinkings need to be formed from 5 sense door. So we can say,
What is the difference between the sense door and the mind door?
the sense door experiencing the realities,
Yes.
and the mind door most of the time experiencing the concept.
Can it experience any object?
The nimitta of the reality, and we say that the process after the sense door, and I understand.
What reality that mind door cannot experience?
My door can visual object is can it can be after that what
So
cannot.
you mean that at moment of mind door there's no visible object appearing?
The nimitta of it.
Now it's a mind door in between seeings, processes of seeing.
Yes.
How do you
Sure.
know?
In theory, considering.
So can it experience the object of the sensor process?
Give me some second. I think in the perfect object, cannot experience the perfect object. Does mean
Yeah. What is seen now?
things, everything, people and things.
People and things. Can you see people and things?
Cannot.
So what is the answer? What is seen now?
What is seen now?
And people.
Yeah, things and people. Yeah,
So,
good answer. Yeah, things and people.
how come the visible object, which is seen, be people or things, or anyone, box and cup?
Yeah, many moments of seeing, then thinking about it.
At moment of thinking about right now, is there also the visible object?
No.
No?
Now, yes, but you're saying about the moments, and I just say no.
Yes, but now.
Now is yes, it happened. It happening.
But there is the understanding of at moment of thinking about shape and form and take it for something. It's not seeing.
Right.
So there are moments, many moments of mind of process.
Yes.
Experience that which is seen.
Right.
So very fast. So it appears as shape and form as nimitta to be taken as a cup.
Right.
So can mind or did that experience that which is seen too?
I can say yes.
That's why it's good to consider the truth by oneself to have more understanding and clear understanding and firm understanding too. Otherwise, if there's no question or nothing to think about, there cannot be the understanding of anything. We just take it by words. So now, at this moment, is the mind of process?
Yes,
When?
I'm seeing. Yeah, the cup there.
Okay.
Achara there.
No seeing process.
Seeing process. Yeah, sure.
What is the difference between the sense process and the mind process?
It's just the instant moment and many instant moment of the reality.
That's
too.
why mind does not appear. Only what is seen, heard, smelled, tasted, and touched appear in a day, in life, no matter in what world, 6 ways. That's why there should be the understanding of the mind, because there's not only sense, and now mind follow each sense process. Otherwise, there is no idea of cup because of shape and form. That's why even is there, it does not appear.
Somehow a little bit, yeah. A little bit. Yeah.
And this is life. And the truth of life is nothing permanent at all. And what is taken for this or that, the idea must be through mind only. So we live in the world of nimitta.
For that point, living in the world of the nimitta, then can you elaborate a little bit more about the layer? Because we say the nimitta of the realities is somehow not difficult of the reality characteristic point of view, but we are saying that we are living in the nimitta of things. So the nimitta in the later sentence is related to the concept, right? Or still the first layer of the nimitta we're talking
By
about?
understanding the truth and realize the truth, the sense process is so short. Before it can be taken for things, people, how many moments, how many processes, one sense process followed by many mind process. As soon as there is seeing, it seems like we see many things. That's why.
You say one sense of process follow with many mind of process, right? Thinking about the same object just seen, right? It is correct, or can think other thing.
Now it's known.
Yes, now say in between, maybe in between,
Now.
maybe now seeing, right?
And
hearing.
Not yet.
Oh, just see. So seeing and follow the mind or many mind or. But my question is many such mind or experiencing the same nimitta of the seeing over the sendos process, or it can be the other visible object in the past, not the currently just seen.
Just like now, no sense process or sense only appear right now.
Right now.
We live in the world of nimitta, of kunsara, kunjuratan, kunarbato, nimitta of everything.
Right.
And the truth, the absolute truth is that a reality arises experience an object one at a time. So at moment of seeing someone, it's not only seeing process.
Sure. Yeah. For that point.
And where's the mind of?
Hidden. Yeah. Yeah. Mind's many mind process.
In between.
In between.
Process of seeing.
Yes.
But the process of seeing is very short. Only one moment of seeing in the process.
Right.
And there are more than seeing in the process. And when it's mind or process, more than just seeing in the process. So we live in the world of nimitta, ignorance, layers and layers, after the moment of experiencing an object.
Layer. So in real, it's just the visible object there, but many layers of thinking.
Does it fall away to visible object?
Right.
See?
Right.
But it's not known. It seems like it's there all the time. Right or wrong, how much ignorance, how much wrong view, and how much clinging, how much understanding. That's why even the intellectual understanding has to be precise and firm about what is there now, nimitta of everything.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? After the seeing, there's many mind process happening.
Is there seeing right now?
Yes.
And is there understanding what is there around?
Not yet, just considering.
Through what way?
Mind one.
How many people? Before it can be nimitta of the people, nimitta of each detail that impinge on the ideas.
Can we say mind process the nimitta as well?
Whatever arises is known by nimitta only.
So
only.
So
Nimitta of rupa, nimitta of vedana, nimitta of sanya, nimitta of sankhara khanda, nimitta of vijnana. And ignorance, kama sava, bhavasava, avijjasava, titasava follow instantly. It's ready to arise because it has been accumulated. As soon as what appears, the object of the sense or mind is there. And is ignorance you?
no.
Safe from being ignorant. But in truth, more and more ignorance.
Yeah, right.
There was an interesting comment yesterday. Ajahn was saying that actually everyone knows nimitta. Everyone knows tissue box and book and table and what have you, but they're not known as nimittas. We take the table, the box, what is everything for being reality. But in fact, they're just different signs, layers and layers of ignorance, taking different nimittas, different ideas for being real. But actually, they're just different layers of nimittas with ignorance.
So now, is there any doubt about khanti? Khanti parami.
Yeah, a little bit understand, a little bit consider about the khanti. Just
a little bit of understanding is parami.
What about Kanti now? Mr. Kanti now, when listening and considering and questioning and patiently reflecting on what is meant by sense door and mind door and so on.
Right, right. But actually it's not appear. Yeah.
So I've also been recently reading about all the doors process and the Shawanajita, but with my ignorance, I'm trapped where I don't remember the exact Bali term, but I know that with seeing, it could be kusala or akusala arises as a result of that vibhaka citta. But I couldn't grasp how come it doesn't happen in the mano tawala vashana citta, meaning why can't it go through my thinking process before judging the jit if it's kusala or akusala.
Is Manodwara Vachana Chitta, is it a Vipaka Chitta? What is the mind door adverting Chitta? They've told you it's just a Kiriya Chitta. It's not Kusala, it's not Akusala, it's not Vipaka, it's the inoperative Chitta. Can you hear me? A bit weak. So after the Chittas have experienced the object through the sense door, the same object is experienced through the mind door. So there is the adverting to that object, and then the kusala or akusala Chittas experience the same object. Of course, it has to be the nimitta because the visible object has fallen away. And then there are many more mind door processes, thinking about the sign, the shape, the form, the color, the details, the idea, and so on. But those are not vipaka chittas, the kusala or akusala chittas in that mind door process, because no visible object, no seeing of any visible object. So no vipaka chittas before those kusala or akusala chittas arise.
Before the object that the mind door experiences are vibhaka of akusala citta, like a karma.
What is the vipaka? What are the moments in life that are vipaka?
Like seeing visible object experience.
Just the seeing, yes, the seeing, yes. And what else is vipaka?
Hearing and body senses.
Consciousness, yes.
Consciousness and thinking.
Is thinking vipaka?
No.
We're talking about thinking in the mind or now. It's kusala or akusala thinking. It's not vipaka. In between the sense door and the mind door processes, there are bhavanga chittas arising, which are the same as the chittas that arise in deep sleep. These are vipaka chittas. They're not kusala or akusala, they're vipaka chittas. In this life, they're kusala vipaka chittas. In the animal realm, akusala vipaka chittas. But in the mind door process, the thinking with kusala, in a kusala or akusala way, is not vipaka. It is that thinking with attachment, thinking with understanding that accumulates, conditioning more and more of the same, leading to the causes which can bring results in future. A little bit clearer?
Yeah.
Little bit.
Not the visible object itself. But the eye consciousness, the seeing that experiences that visible object, doesn't know anything about it, just experiences, bare experience. So at that point, nothing is known about the visible object, whether it's part of what we take for a person or a thing or so forth. And after the seeing consciousness has fallen away and the rest of that process finishes, then that same object is experienced by the mind door process. And that's when it starts to run through the object, as we were saying earlier, kusala akusala cittas. But I'm not sure where your question arises in that process.
I think it's the process that's called Votapanacitta, where it's executed, whether you're accumulating the next akusala citta or kusala. So I'm confused whether that happens in the mind or process or the end of the thinking.
The Votapanacitta arises before each series of kusala or akusala cittas, but it's just a single moment, and it's not a functional, it's citta. So it's just a transition between, it's a transition in the sense door process. It's a transition between the vipaka citta and the kusala and akusala cittas of the javana process. Yeah. Otherwise.
So like you talked about the manandwara vajana citta that refers to the object, and you said this is the kiriya citta, not kusala, akusala, or vipaka. And it's that same citta that can have the function of Votapana in the sense door, as Jonathan said, after the vipaka cittas and before the kusala or akusala cittas. It needs that transitional citta, but actually it doesn't. It's just one citta, like a bit of extra packaging before the kusala or akusala cittas can arise.
So can I say, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but can I say that can I say that the new accumulation happens after the mind door only, or also other senses?
What about now at a moment of doubt? Is the moment of doubt now a new accumulation?
I guess so.
Actually, it's new in the sense that it's always a new moment. But if there hadn't been doubt in the past, there wouldn't be doubt arising now.
Yeah,
So it's conditioned by the previous doubt. But at each moment it arises, it's a new moment. So the lobha now, the attachment now, different from the lobha a moment ago, but conditioned by the tendency, the habit of clinging.
I think you're doing very well listening to you, Dream. You know, these areas are quite complex, and but I think it can be very valuable to consider them carefully, because it will be a foundation for understanding of what the teachings are all about, because they are difficult, and I'm admiring you really listening, trying to figure it all out. And it's not important that you get everything exactly right, because Tanajan will always point to the fact that there's dhammas arising now, and that's the important thing to consider carefully, and to see whether or not that's true. But we're talking about this Vatapana, which is sometimes translated as determining. But as we talked about earlier on, I've had some other thoughts, but I'm going to leave that for the time being. It's because of previous accumulations. And one thing that Alberto mentioned to me recently too, that it's a kiriya citta, as you know now. But it seems that after vipaka cittas, you can't have kusala or akusala. It has to be a kiriya citta there, which also is in the mind door process. It's the same type of citta, it's just got a different name. It's not so important, that aspect of it though. But I think you're doing very well. So that moment of so-called determining, as it's sometimes translated, is there because, you know, as I said, there has to be a kiriya citta after a vipaka citta. You can't have kusala or kusala straight away after vipaka. It's just an academic point, but it's an interesting point, and that's just the way it is. Sometimes life is just, that's the way reality is. It has these different niyamas, these different laws. They have to be like that. And that moment, because of our previous accumulations, and sometimes you might have heard the word, I don't like complicating it too much, is pakatupanisya pacha, like we've accumulated, all of us, all uniquely accumulated certain tendencies. We like certain types of food, we like to live in certain types of places, we like to live in certain types of countries, etc., etc., etc. We all have preferences, and these are accumulated, and these will affect the quality of the chitta in a way. So, we might like, as I said, probably the common one, often use a certain type of food. So usually we have attachments to certain types of foods. I certainly know I do. So, and this will affect the type of chitta that arises in that subsequent, in those jhāvana movements that follow Wattapana. And so it's like we all have these tendencies. Sometimes they're translated as accumulations. You can call them that: accumulations, tendencies, proclivities, sankharas, if you like, almost it can be translated as. So we accumulate these different ways of these habits of being in the world, and they determine, one moment, as Sarah just pointed out to you there, that moment of doubt that you may have, that accumulates because that's had a previous support condition in the past, which is a support condition in the present moment for more of the same. And it's by listening to the Dhamma carefully and reflecting and considering carefully with helpful and wise friends, that the accumulation for attending more wisely to the presently arising reality, and that will condition more of the same. When there is careful consideration, careful consideration becomes a habit. So, that accumulates. It's not a person who accumulates. It's just different moments arising because of different conditions in different environments. And so the whole process continues along those lines.
What is the purpose of hearing about these details or learning about different chittas and different processes? What is it for?
To realize the truth of the now.
And what is the truth of the now?
It's gone already. I can't catch it. It's too fast.
And can anyone make an effort to make it any different, or to have metta, or to be aware?
No.
Because they're just different chittas arising by many different conditions and falling away instantly, each one by conditions. No one can do anything. No one is there at all. And that is the purpose of considering these details only.
I think Sarah's making this, that a lot of these realities are never known. Like the Rodapana Citta, for example, it's never the object of understanding. It's like Ajahn mentions, passa, what the mental factors. So our interest in these realities is just to understand or just to have an intellectual understanding of how things are and how it's possible that there are just different moments of consciousness arising and falling away. None of it can be controlled, all of it by conditions.
Do you have clear understanding of the chati of citta and cittasika?
Not 100% yet.
That's why when we talk about the manodvara vachana and the other thing, there cannot be clear understanding. But when there's clear understanding of each word, another naya, chati by way of chati, there are 4 chatis of citta, no matter it arises here or there. One is that which born to be or arise to be kusala, right? And the other akusala. These two are the cause and it can condition result to be the result of kusala kamma or result of kusala kamma. So no matter it is kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka, it cannot be the cause because it's conditioned by the cause to arise, to experience such and such as its result of the karma which has been done. Another one, it's not kusala, not akusala, not vipaka. Another chati it is kiriya. So now, how many kiriya chittas? And what are the difference between kiriya chitta? With hetu or without hetu? And what is meant by kiriya? It's the function of chitta conditioned by its own proper condition, not karma, and it's not vipaka. So it is kiriya chitta. In daily life, what is known as kiriya chitta, but cannot be experienced, is the moment, the chitta before seeing, hearing, smelling. Because before those moments, chitta is pavanka. What is pavanka? It arises to perform its function, to keep on life on and on until death. After death, not pavanka of this life, but after birth of next life, pavanka of the other life, next life. So no doubt about the cause, kusala, akusala, and the vipaka result, kusala vipaka, akusala vipaka. But there is another chati, one more. Not kusala, not akusala, not vipaka. So it is kiriya chitta. And usually the kiriya chitta cannot be kusala or akusala or vipaka. So it's the chitta of arahata. Because arahata does not have akusala and kusala, no cause for any further result at all. After that arahata has become enlightened to the level of arahata, no more kilesa and no more kusala. As long as it is kusala, it can produce results, condition its own result. And when it is akusala, it could condition its own results. Just to arise at such and such time, by such and such way, to such and such doorway, by conditions, karma as condition. So we have to understand what chitta is not kusala, akusala, and vipaka. The chitta before seeing, before that, before this chitta is pavanka. It does not experience any object of this world. No parents, no thing, no house, no world, no I, nothing there. Because what each chitta has to experience an object. And even that moment, it also experienced the object too, but not the object of this world. But it has the same object as the chitta before death. By karma, to condition chitta before death to be kusala or akusala, which condition then is birth to be kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka. So we don't know before this moment what chitta will be, kusala or akusala, but it has to be the karma which is ready to condition birth consciousness after this. Who knows? We are going to a new place, new home. Where is it? We don't know. Until by then, when it's there, at moment of birth, forget about everything of previous life, past life at all. So that is kusala, akusala before this, and pavanka is vipaka, because it has to arise as long as a condition to be this person until death. And when one was born, what comes next? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. They are all vipaka. Akusala vipaka experiences the unpleasant object, and kusala vipaka experiences the pleasant object. Nobody can change what would be the next moment, kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka, because all dhammas are anatta. not in anyone's control. It's conditioned by its cause. When it is vipaka, it depends on kusala karma, one kusala karma only. And the other citta, because before experiencing anything, because bhavanga is there, not experience the object of this world at all. So before hearing or seeing or thinking whatever arises, which is not vipaka, which is performing the bhavanga function, and it needs one cetasika to advert to the object which is there, impinge on the sense object or mind. And that is not the result of any karma. It just arises to perform the function of giving way to the process citta to see. So without the citta which adverts to the object, adverting consciousness, or in Pali, Panchatwara Vachana, 5 the way, or it can be another naya, Chakku Tuara Vachana, Sota Tuara Vachana, Khana Tuara Vachana, so on. And Mano Tuara Vachana doesn't depend on the sense thought at all. So the citta before seeing, and it's not the bhavanga. The bhavanga has ended up, and the citta which attends or advert to the object which has impinged on the eye base or ear base is kiriya citta. Why? Because it can advert to any object of kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka, just one moment. So it cannot be kusala vipaka, because kusala vipaka has to be conditioned by karma. So that one can advert to any object, present, unpresent. So it is kiriya citta. And in the day before hearing, seeing, this citta has to arise, adverting to the object which impinges on the basis. And there is not just seeing, hearing, smelling in a day, there is also thinking. So how come? To be thinking without condition is impossible to arise to be anything at all. That's why this citta does not advert to the sensor, but to the thinking through the mind. That's why these two citta cannot be kusala or akusala, or kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka. It is kiriya citta, no matter it is through sense or mind. So the word for it is different. Through the sense, it is pancha, the vara, vachana, and through mind, it is mano, the vara, vachana. These two are kiriya citta in daily life, the same as mano, the vara, vachana, but different function. That's why we learn a little bit more, to have confidence of the truth of no one. And when it's no one, what is it? Not the word, but the truth. So now there is the difference between Panchatavara Vachana and Manotavara Vachana, and each citta is different by conditions. And for Arahata, Kiriya citta, the two as usual, as before becoming Arahata, Panchatavara Vachana, Manotavara Vachana, and Vipaka. Before death, there must be moment experience the object conditioned by karma. And the other moments, instead of kusala, akusala kiriya, it is instead of kusala, akusala vipaka, it is kiriya citta. So whenever there is a hearing about this word, it is citta which performs a function of adverting, because there cannot just be javana suddenly without thinking about it, without experiencing the object which impinges on the base. So in the beginning, there should be the understanding of different naya of citta by way of chati.
I think you, by mistake, you may have said instead of kusala vipaka, it's kiriya, but you meant the kusala of the javana process for the arahat. It's kiriya, citta.
Does an arhata have vipaka
Yes, but a result of
before
yeah.
death? Before death. So there are two kinds of nibbana. Upatisesa nibbana means at moment when all kilesa has been eradicated, absolutely. And at moment of death, not just only those citta which have conditions to arise, no more moments of citta, cittasika, and rupa.
And Ajahn mentioned about kiriya chittas with and without hetus. Do you know what hetus are?
The root.
The roots. So what are the roots? There are 6 hetus. What are the 6 roots? Okay, 3 are kusala roots and 3 are akusala roots. So the kusala roots are alobha, dosa, and amoha. And the akusala roots, lobha, dosa, and avijja, ignorance, moha. So at the moment of sense-stored verting consciousness, it's a kiriya citta, as Ajahn explained. So at that moment, no kusala or akusala roots, no lobha, no dosa, no alobha, adosa. And at moments of seeing and hearing, which follow, are there any roots, wholesome or unwholesome roots?
What's it? The first one is the object impinges in
So
here.
we're talking about the sense door process, and the object, the visible object, say, has impinged on the eye base. And after 3 bhavanga cittas, there is the sense stored verting consciousness, which is a kiriya citta. At that moment, no roots. It's we call it ahetuka, without hetu.
Yes.
And it's followed by seeing, a moment of seeing. Does the moment of seeing, does that citta have roots, kusala or akusala roots?
Yes.
What are the roots?
There could be Giriya. No, if I'm not so Davan, then no Kiriya. So
What kind of citta is seeing? Is it a kiriya citta, or what kind of citta is it? Every citta must be kusala, akusala, vipaka, or kiriya. What kind of citta is seeing?
what's the difference between seeing and when the object is impinging on the eye?
So
Is
we're
that
just
not the
talking
same?
about the citta now, just
Okay,
the seeing
actual
conscious,
citta.
the citta which sees what is visible. So at a moment of seeing now, what kind of citta is it? What
Is it
jhati?
Giriya? Because it's the first.
Let
it's
me
not the
ask
first.
Tin, what kind of citta is seeing?
Is it vipaka?
It's a vipaka citta. It's a result of karma. You do know, but you're confused. So I guess, so the seeing is a vipaka citta. At that moment of seeing, how many ceitasikas arise with it, Tin?
7.
7. Are there any
Oh,
are there any wholesome or unwholesome roots at that moment?
only during Javana.
Right. What about at the moment of seeing? Dream is saying yes. What are you saying?
If there's any roots during seeing,
At the moment of seeing,
and this moment is
it's the moment, the
whole
vipaka
process?
citta of seeing. At that very moment, are there any hetus? Are there any wholesome
Oh.
or unwholesome roots?
No,
No,
it's
because they're just
vipaka.
those 7 ceitasikas. There's no lobha, there's no dosa, there's no moha, there's no alobha, adosa, or panya. it's ahetuka. Just those 7 cetasikas arise with it. That's what it's meant. And the next 2 vipaka citas, the same, they're also ahetuka. And then there is the kiriya citta you asked about, the Votapana citta. So it's also ahetuka, rootless. No lobha, no dosa, no alobha, adosa. And then the kusala or akusala cittas arise that must be accompanied by either wholesome or unwholesome roots. At a moment of kusala, alobha and adosa must arise together with that kusala citta. They are the wholesome roots. And the panya may or may not arise. With the akusala cittas, there must be avijja, always avijja, ignorance as a root. And there can be lobha or there can be dosa, but not both. So 1 or 2 roots. And then the following, and then after that, the bhavanga cittas. If it's in the life of an animal, akusala vipaka, rootless, ahetuka cittas. In the human realm, the result of kusala vipaka, then there are wholesome roots like now. The number depending, either 0, 2, or 3. So, and then the kusala or akusala cittas in the mind or process must have hetus. And the reason Ajahn said that the kiriya can be with or without hetus, so the sense-stored verting consciousness, the mind-stored verting consciousness, these are kiriya cittas which are without roots. But what about the kiriya cittas of the arahat, which replace kusala cittas? No more kusala cittas, but there are kiriya cittas. So they still must have wholesome roots. So for the arahat, the kiriya cittas must have the roots of alobha and adosa. Do they always have panya arising with them? No, not necessarily. Like at moments of metta, and not necessarily panya with every citta, with every kiriya citta. So 2 or 3 wholesome roots. So it's another detailed area to consider what is meant by roots.
Is the metta of an arhata kusala?
Oh, that's the trap. Because it's kiriya citta, right? Yeah.
Another naya, see, by way of root, see, many naya. So understand the naya of citta and cittasika. Otherwise, it's heard but no understanding. For example, is metta of arahata kusala? See,
No, that's not in here.
that's it. Is it vipaka?
Could be for
We have to begin again, consider again, clear, firm understanding of each word. What is vipaka?
Wholesome, right? Because it kiriya is cannot be the root for future result. Kiriya, not kusala. No.
So it's kiriya.
Yes,
Only for
kiriya.
chati.
Kiriya.
Only.
Have roots. Does the kiriya citta of the arahat have roots?
Yes.
What roots?
At least 2. Adosa and alobha. Yeah.
And
Amoha could be.
and what determines whether amoha, that is panya, the same, what determines whether panya is a root and arises with those kiriya cittas?
I think at the moment, understand the realities is experiencing.
Can there be understanding of realities at every moment?
No.
No. So it just depends on conditions.
Okay. Yeah.
Can the Panchatavara Vachana have root? The adverting conscious, why not?
Because it just advert to the object, whatever
Why
object.
doesn't have the hetu with it?
Why? Because its function is just to advert to the object. It's not kusala or akusala. It's a kriya. Oh, no, yeah, it's no.
Can all Kiriya Chitta have root?
No.
What Kiriya Chitta does have root?
The kriya chitta you just mentioned, and actually I don't know the word.
Do you have Kiriya Chitta now?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So what is Kiriya Chitta? Does it
Like
arise with root?
advert for the mind process as well. And
What do you mean as well? Same Chitta or different Chitta?
different chitta, different.
Can the Panchatavara Vachana Chitta be Manodvara Vachana Chitta? Minder and sensor, and minder is mono.
It cannot, yeah, different, yeah.
So can any of the Kiriya Chittas arising now while we talk, can any of them have roots?
Have roots?
Roots, hetu.
No, it only arahata have roots.
So why not?
Why not? Because its function is not because it's not in the Javana.
Right.
No
And
need, yeah.
The
no,
nature of those
nature
chittas is that
no
they are hetuka.
need. Yeah.
No kusala, no akusala. They are just ahetuka Kiriya Chittas.
Because from nature function.
Can Chitta with root be kusala?
Chitta. Can chitta with root be kusala, right? Yes.
Can Chitta with root be akusala?
Yes.
Can Chitta with root be vipaka?
No. With root be bhavanga chitta and vipaka as well. Yeah. Yes.
What vipaka Chitta doesn't have root?
Over the sense law. Doesn't have.
How many?
5.
Only?
Yes.
How many akusala Chittas are there?
How many akusala
Chittas are there altogether?
I don't know the number. In the sense though it's 7.
Not in the sense, though.
Okay. I don't know how you mean say how many kind of the.
That's why we have to learn the details too,
Right.
in order to let go the clinging to the self.
Yeah.
And only intellect understanding is not enough at all. Even one is so very firm, have more confidence and more confident, but it's not the moment of realizing the reality by them as it is.
Yeah.
At moment of understanding the truth of reality, can it understand the moment of Panchatavara Vachana?
I think anything can be object for the
Is there
understanding.
now Panchatavara Vachana?
No. It's now but not appear, right?
Is there now Panchatavara Vachana?
Yes. Yes.
Does it appear?
No.
So can it be known?
Not yet.
What can be known when it's real and it's there?
What can be known, right? You mentioned about the moment of the understand the Citta, or in here. I just clarify the question.
Can adverting consciousness be known?
Yes.
Does it appear?
Now it's not.
So what appears?
Now it's visible object appear.
Can it experience the object?
Seeing, experiencing it.
So what appears to be known?
Yes. Visible object, sound, hardness.
The nimitta of Nama.
Oh. Nimitta of Nama.
As the reality which can experience the object.
So you mean it appearing now?
What
the
appears
nimitta
now?
of the Nama. So the nimitta of the seeing.
The nimitta of rupa, the nimitta of nama,
right.
Nimitta of sanya, nimitta of vedana.
Right.
Whatever appears by way of nimitta.
And it's appear now.
Because Panchadvara Vachana does not appear. Sampatichana, Santirana, Vatapana do not appear. What appear now is seeing, but it's not only seeing. Other nama before and after seeing are there, but they do not appear. So we live in the world of 6 doorways, nimitta of the 6 doorways. The nama which is, as much as we can know, the moment of hearing, nama which is only 6 doorways.
And the nimitta of it appearing.
Nimitta of all object.
No, on object or on nama. Object, nimitta of, I'm not understanding this point. The on object or on the realities.
Is there any object now?
Yes.
It's the nimitta of rupa when it's rupa. And it's the nimitta of nama when it's nama. Layers and layers and layers of ignorance, attachment. Khanti. So Khanti is parami.
Thank you, Ajahn. Anumodana. Glad that so many of you joined by Zoom.
Anumodana. Thank you all. Thank you, Considine. Sawatika.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Tomorrow the discussion